We will have confirmed, as I said, 112 judges to the federal district courts, 44 judges to the federal circuit courts, and 2 outstanding judges to the United States Supreme Court. And that number is rapidly rising. Now, 1 out of every 4 circuit judges currently on the bench was appointed by this administration, and that number has now exceeded that by quite a bit. No president in history has confirmed as many circuit court judges, even close, not even close, in such a short period of time.
The president is remaking, in some ways, the judiciary, or at least the composition of the judiciary. This is one of the reasons. Well, there's a few things here. You have Mitch McConnell, who knows that the machinery of appointing constitutional conservative judges to the bench, and I have no problem in saying that. We should want conservative judges on the bench, people that believe the law is what it says. The Constitution is a thing with meaning. It doesn't just change based on whatever you want it to mean. That their role is not to come up with what is the best policy through the law, but what the law says, to interpret it based on constitutional jurisprudence, and to be fair and impartial in that process without ideology. That's what a constitutional conservative justice means. If you want liberal activist judges, we know what that means. Law is whatever they want it to be. It means whatever they tell it to mean. It is whatever they want it to say. And Mitch McConnell, for example, understands that his legacy in this whole process is going to be increasingly cemented just based on the fact that he'll have all these lifetime appointments of federal judges and people all the way up to the Supreme Court who will there'll at least be some greater chance that you're not going to have the activist left take over the entirety of the judiciary. I mean, Trump has gotten a lot of judges in place, which is important. And for those, and I put myself in this category, some aspects of the Trump presidency so far he hasn't accomplished. To say that he hasn't done what he said he'd do, that's unfair. It's not over yet. And I think he is going to get 4 more years. But there are certainly things that remain unfinished. I think we could all agree there are things that remain unfinished with this presidency. And the judges, though, that he has gotten in so far really matters. It really does matter. And that's one of the parts for those who were still troubled by President Trump's personality and the nepotism and some of the other less savory aspects of the Trump presidency. The judges have been great. And also, I think there was a political awakening that happened on the right as a result of the fight specifically over Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh. Here's the president was talking about this last night. Play clip 16, please.
I said, Brett, let me tell you something. This approval process that you're going to go through will be so fast and so easy. You're perfect. Perfect life, perfect family, perfect education, top scholar, best schools. Brett, this is going to be so easy. Little did he know. Little did he know. But I'll tell you what, it really represented something. It represented unfairness. And some of those people that came forward, to my way of thinking, all of those people that came forward, I thought it was disgraceful what happened. And I want to thank all of my Republican colleagues for standing up tall for a man who really didn't deserve what he went through. Nobody could have believed a thing like that could have happened.
And yet it was very instructive, wasn't it? And the president's absolutely right. And we should remember that Kavanaugh wasn't just a guy who was up for an important government job. He was someone who, an objective, thoughtful human being, would immediately come to the conclusion, this is as honorable, decent, intelligent, and qualified a human being for this job as you could ever find, with nothing in his. I mean, think about what they had to, what they did. Presented lies from 30 years ago that had not a shred, not one piece of corroborating evidence or proof of any kind whatsoever. And the flimsiest of supposed witness testimony from people whose motives were obvious in the whole process. And I've said this before, and I think we all have to remember this, especially as we think about, well, are we going to vote for Trump again? I mean, I am, but Some people might say, well, am I going to go third party and independents and undecideds? Remember this, whether you have Trump in the Oval Office or you have Brett Kavanaugh in the Oval Office, just by way of comparison, both of them, the left has alleged, are rapists, basically, or attempted rapists. No, actually, no, I'm sorry, a rapist with Kavanaugh, too, because of what Swetnick said. Both of those people, the left has said, are rapists. So let's not delude ourselves into thinking that if we had a more genteel, and this is why the Never Trumpers, I've had it with them, I'm done. That's why I don't want to have them on the show. I don't want to talk to them. They're a bunch of babies who have not woken up to the reality of the fight we're in. I'm sorry, they're wrong. If you have anyone in this White House who is trying to accomplish the things that Trump is trying to accomplish, they would be saying he's Hitler. They would be coming up with stories from his past. Oh, he's a rapist. He's a racist. They would say the worst things about anyone. The mistake of the GOP in the past, in the Romneyite era, let's say, in the Bush era, which Bush was a little different because of the war on terror, and so the focus went away from some of these more hot-button domestic issues. But it was, well, we will conduct ourselves with decorum and decency, and the left will respond to that. They will at least play by some. If they can call Brett Kavanaugh a rapist, they can literally call any human being a rapist and not feel bad about it. There was a psychopathy at the heart of the anti-Kavanaugh movement. They didn't care what they were doing to this guy. They didn't care about the psychological damage to him, to his family. They had convinced themselves that he needed to be burned at the stake, and nothing else mattered. Nothing else mattered. I mean, these are the people who, the left, you see this in their eyes sometimes. You see this in the way they talk about these issues. They're the ones that would have been cheering as the wagons made their way down the Champs-Élysées in Paris, taking people to, have their heads lopped off by the guillotine. The same mentality exists among leftists today, where it's like, yeah, we need our political enemies to suffer, to be ruined, to be destroyed. I've yet to hear, I still to this day have yet to hear of anyone who is a prominent figure on the left really just feel rotten, feel badly about what happened to this guy. And the reason I won't let it go is because, one, they did, if you remember, they tried with that pathetic New York Times book, the New York Times reporters that put out this book. They tried to revisit the Kavanaugh thing, and maybe he really did do this thing according. Oh, here we have again hearsay on hearsay on hearsay on allegation, and all the people involved in it have political motivations, but we're supposed to ignore that. Oh, it doesn't matter. You just believe them. I'd want to know. Should we ask ABC News if believe women is a thing that doesn't apply to people who aren't over the age of 18? Why didn't they believe the women that Epstein had abused? Why is it that when they come forward and they don't believe those women, huh? Because when it happened, maybe their memories are. Well, what was the explanation, ABC News? I just would want to know why it didn't meet standards. Of course, ABC, a bunch of liars, cowards, liars. NBC News. Man, I'm really not going to get a job in corporate media anytime soon, am I? NBC News. Liars. Matt Lauer. They didn't know about Matt Lauer. There were people who knew, who were very powerful, who were making a lot of money, and didn't want the gravy train to stop. Period. Lying to you. They look you in the eye. They put these people on TV that are supposed to be telling you the truth, supposed to be telling you about what matters, what happened, supposed to represent our ideals as Americans, and it's all just crap. It's all crap. And where were these guardians of truth? I told you, I had people from CNN reach out to me and say, with this, if you don't stop calling Christine Blasey Ford a liar publicly, if you don't stop saying that the other women are liars, you're never gonna work in a sort of a top tier media organization again. This is what CNN people I'd worked with there were telling me this. I didn't care because what was happening was appalling. It was appalling, and I would hope that any person who has any judgment or common sense would recognize that if they can do that to Kavanaugh, and if they would do that to Kavanaugh, and they did, they would do the same thing to you, your dad, your husband, your brother, not think twice about it. Anything for the cause. Anything for the cause. These people are. It's gotten a little crazy. It's gotten a little scary out there. They keep saying all these things about how Trump supporters are horrible, and we want these bad things to happen in the country. It's not true, and nothing horrible has happened, and yet they run around in hysterics all the time about how these terrible things are going to occur. And we look around and say, when do they just get? When do they exhaust their hysteria? When can we sit down and have a conversation as a country, like adults, who want to have a worthwhile exchange of ideas? Because there are areas. How do we fix healthcare? How do we fix the border? What should our immigration system look like? These are real things where there's good faith discussion on all sides. But the president is a Russian agent who's a traitor, and Brett Kavanaugh is a serial gang rapist, and these are things that bad people present as truth for their own purposes, and we should hold them accountable for that. And I mean bad people in the media. People should not watch these shows. They should not support these endeavors. It's bad. It is bad what is going on out there. There is no truth. There's no honesty. And everyone is just doing what their paymasters tell them to do all the time. These leftists, they pretend that they are speaking truth to power. When was the last time somebody who was a prominent, give me one anchor at CNN or MSNBC who stood up and during the entire Kavanaugh thing, one who was like, this is wrong? I didn't see it. Did you see? Maybe. I would bet a lot of money no. One primetime anchor on either of those networks, of all the shows they have, who said this should. Oh, they just all happened to agree that was right. That Kavanaugh was a serial gang rapist, and they took Avenatti's part in this whole thing because Michael Avenatti is somebody that should be trusted. I'm a little upset actually. He loves to DM people and tell them how unimportant and what a loser they are on Twitter. I mean, he's a horrible human being. CNN put him on TV 70 times. Do you think they feel bad about that? Do you think they have any sense of, wow, we're a gross organization. We really should do some soul search. No, of course not. Worked at the time. Put some guy on TV, trashes Trump, talk about the porn star payoff. Great. Anything that trashes Trump is good. Jeff Zucker sitting in his office. Yeah, get him. That's it. I'm explaining what I've been in these places. I know people who work at all of them. I have a lot of people who talk to me in back channel about what's going on there. The things I hear about what are going on at CNN specifically are horrifying. About what the editorial line is there now and how it's a get Trump operation. And everybody knows it. And the people that don't want to be a part of it are just told, deal with it or leave. I'm here to tell you the truth about all this stuff. I'm here to tell you the truth about this. This is why I tell you to watch the first also on Pluto Channel 248, because we'll actually say this stuff here. I'll tell you things. You want to hear from other places. It's the way it is, my friends. It's the way it is.
Senator John Cornyn, I looked at your polls. Nobody's beating you, John. Nobody. And you don't have to worry about Beto anymore, that's for sure. From Texas. He doesn't like guns, religion, or oil. He knocked out all three categories. Somehow in Texas that won't work. I don't think that works anywhere.
I kind of miss Beto in the race, I got to tell you. I mean, Trump, that's a good line, by the way, but he doesn't like guns, religion, or oil. But I wish Beto was still in it, because, like, he was really this pure distillation of the sanctimonious, rich, white lib dude who'd, like, pretend to care so much and be so woke, but really it's all just like a fraud, and he doesn't really ever think about anything. He just says a lot of stuff. I miss him already. We still have Bernie. Bernie's running around being crazy, talking about healthcare and this and that and the other thing. But we don't have Beto anymore, which makes me a little bit on the sad. It makes me sad. He was a fun one to have in the mix. So, Beto's campaign, R.I.P. Oh, but we do still have Ralph Northam running around trying to give us lessons in the way politicians should act and be. And this guy is going to be a running embarrassment for the Democrats for a long time. Play clip 10.
This president has been an embarrassment to this country and sold ourselves to other countries, our allies. I mean, just it's one thing after another, and I think it's catching up with him. So certainly was a factor. But I think in Virginia yesterday, people spoke about the progress that we've made, the progress that we'll continue to make. Another issue that is very, very important in Virginia is women's reproductive health care and also stopping the discrimination against the LGBTQ community. Those are important issues, and Virginians spoke to those yesterday, and we're listening, and we're going to pass some good laws and policy to move Virginia forward.
I just want to remind everybody that when you have your liberal friends telling you, how could you vote for Trump? How could you? A lot of Virginia Democrats went out to vote for a guy who dressed in blackface or a Klan robe, and in fact did it so often that he had a nickname that I will not repeat on air in college because of his habit of dressing in blackface, and who spoke openly about an infant that had survived an abortion procedure being killed, but to do so in as humane a fashion as possible. So the infanticide blackface guy who also refused to even admit his blackface past, Virginia Democrats, no problem showing up voting for that guy. But they're going to lecture us all about, oh, Trump. Trump said he had a mean tweet. Trump's a bad guy. Look at liberals in Canada. With Justin Trudeau, who we have not talked about in a while. Liberals in Canada voted for Trudeau. The guy did blackface so many times, can't even remember how many times he did blackface. But they want their ideas reflected in the corridors of power. They want their beliefs to have the power, the authority of the state to just cram it down people's throats in this country, or in Canada too. So I don't want to hear it. We're going to have so much trying to push us from voting for Trump based on how it's just good people couldn't do that. Good people won't vote for Trump. They'll try to morally blackmail you into this. Oh, how could you? Trump is so awful. All right, well, what about all these Democrats out there that seem that there's no problem voting for them? What about these Democrats? And the positions that they support are awful, but also in a lot of cases, their backgrounds, their backstories, you find out more about them and you realize, oh, these are not good, decent, ethical people at all. They're certainly not like Brett Kavanaugh, somebody you'd want as a neighbor, as a friend, as a family member. They're not in his category, but they'll tear the Kavanaughs of the world down ruthlessly, viciously, falsely. Welcome to the modern Democrat Party, everybody. Wokeness, my friends, is not limited to the United States. As you know, the entire English-speaking world certainly has its own social justice movements, and there's this increase in the desire to shut down speech that's offensive. This is happening in the U.S. and Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Britain, other places too. I can't even think about. But this was a new one for me. I didn't know about this. I know we played that woman in Australia who's like, I just want the patriarchy to fear feminism. I want the patriarchy to be like, oh my God, I'm in a corner and I'm like shaking with fear because I'm a patriarchy, and feminism is like this giant, it's like this giant person who's really strong, right? It's strong like an ox. It's threatening patriarchy. Woman, I still don't know what she was talking about. But it's like violence sometimes. What you've got to do if you can't get what you want, but you can get what you need. The Rolling Stones. Anyway, saying some nonsense there. Good morning, Britain, though. I know that wasn't an Aussie accent, but the woman kind of sounded like that to me. But now we're in Britain, so we have a woman who wants to let you know about the danger of clapping. 20.
So it's actually not just for people with anxiety, it's also people who use hearing aids. Clapping can be disruptive to that. People who have sensory processing issues, it can be very distressing and overwhelming to have those loud, sudden noises.
It's really terrifying if you've got sensory deprivation issues.
I mean, okay, also, if I, am trying to walk past someone on the subway, I tap them on the shoulder, it could startle them and they could have a heart attack. Like, we can't live our lives this way, okay? We can't do this. Hey, but what if somebody's like really, like, they've got like a little bit of a headache and you just start clapping, it's like real loud. And then you all of a sudden the headaches can get worse. And, I mean, how much Tylenol can one person take? I was happy, though. Oh, wait, but I will say this before we have a gentleman who was on the panel. There was some sanity in the UK. There was no sanity in that Australia panel. She's like, I just want the patriarchy to be terrified. I want the patriarchy to be like, oh, but I can't deal with this anymore. I'm so sad on the inside. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. The panel in this case had somebody who came forward who spoke a bit of sense. But before I get to that, I will say, hold on, don't play that. Were you playing the clip? You trying to? Okay, just making sure. I got eyes on you, producer Mark. So there's a thing that people do, and I just want to go on record. It is the most annoying thing on planet Earth. And it's when they're at a concert or a sporting event, or it's happened to me when I was at a Broadway play. The person was sitting right next to me. I wanted to dump a bucket of ice water on her head, but they do the thing where they put the two fingers in their mouth and they make the super high whistle noise to show their approval for something. I'm not an advocate of violence, but if somebody punches you because you're doing that, it's not like they didn't have some cause. I'm just going to say it. It's the most annoying, lacking in consideration for other people noise that happens in public place all the time. Don't do that thing. Yeah, okay, the people down on the field, you're up in the cheap seats, making this. I can't make the noise at all. They make the whistle with the fingers, and maybe somebody on the field will hear but you know who also hears it? The person who is 18 inches away from you in their seat, whose eardrum you have just punctured with your stupid noise. Are you with me, producer Mark?
That wasn't the right whistle that I wanted.
Oh.
I was trying to find some whistling in the system just to annoy you, but
I was like, is that a bomb noise? Because my comment bombed? I don't know what that. What sounded like a bomb?
it did sound like that, like Roadrunner.
But do you know what? Is there a word for that kind of like the fingers in the mouth whistle?
Loud, obnoxious whistling.
The loud, obnoxious whistle. Don't do the loud, obnoxious whistle.
That's actually a thing at Ranger games.
Oh, hockey. No wonder.
Like they'll do a little whistle thing, like dun dun dun, dun like that thing, and then yell "Pot Van sucks."
See, I wouldn't know about this.
Yeah.
You're gonna take me to a hockey game at some point.
Sure.
And we're gonna have come on the show and talk about it. But you know, when they put the fingers in the mouth, they do the whistle thing.
Yeah.
And it's the loudest, most annoying sound in the world. And yet people will just do it sometimes. And I don't understand why they think that that's okay. And I look at them, I'm like, do you not know that it hurts the ears of people that are, like, legitimately it actually hurts the ears of people around you? And you could say, oh, Buck, I can make whatever noise I want to at a game or something. I'd say, well, what if I just got in your ear and I did the Dumb and Dumber noise? You know, as loud as I possibly could. Wouldn't people be mad at me about that? It's no different. It's like if you kick my Oh my gosh. Stop. Turn off the, okay, I give, anything. Uncle.
I'm glad I finally found some good whistling.
Oh, I hate whistling of all kinds. But the fingers in the mouth sporting event whistle is the one that drives me the most insane. Oh, but back to sanity. Because this lady's like, oh, but we don't want to clap because it's going to be hurting your ears. We can't clap too loud. It's going to be bad. We have Andrew Doyle. I don't know this guy. I guess he's a Good Morning Britain host or something who was like, no, we're not going to all start doing, instead of clapping, just do jazz hands, which is, I guess, what they call it, like, blue jazz hands. Here's what he said. Play clip 21.
When we saw that clip earlier of people doing the jazz hands, the reason that looks really silly to us and our instinct is just to laugh is because it's really counterintuitive. There's something quite instinctive about wanting to show your appreciation through applause. It's something that babies do quite naturally without us training them to do so.
It's one of the first things that they do,
Exactly.
isn't it?
It's an old thing. It's part. I mean, look, I could totally take your point that we do, in a compassionate society, which we are lucky enough to live in, we make sensible provisions for people who have various mental health issues and disabilities and that kind of thing. But what we don't do is completely restructure society and completely change societal norms in order to accommodate the sensibilities of a few people.
Who is that guy? Because he sounds smart. And I agree with him 100%. What we don't do is just turn society upside down because there's a few outlier situations for certain people, and the expectation becomes that you always have to act like the outliers are everywhere, and you don't make case-by-case accommodation based on kindness and consideration. You make the policy based on the possibility of somebody not, liking clapping. No more clapping. You know what they used to do? I remember for a while at coffee shops when I was in college in the 90s, when they did like the poetry reading, they would do the, they would
That's
snap.
an old theater thing, though.
Is that an old theater
Yeah.
thing? I remember.
That's like a lot of people who I know who are in like the drama and stuff.
Yeah,
they do
like
the
the cool
snapping.
drama
Yeah.
kids. It'd be like, oh, we're snapping. Because we're just like snapping.
They just think they're cool. It's not. There's no reason behind it.
Yeah, I didn't really like the drama kids in high school. As a grown-up, though, I like the people that were the drama ladies in high school now that they've grown up. Some of them can be fun.
I was a drama kid. I didn't act. I just did all the behind-the-scenes stuff.
Well, yeah, but that's cool. You're like
Yeah.
you're like one of the union guys that's like backstage playing guitar, hanging out. Those guys are always cool.
Of course, I'm a cool guy.
Yeah, that's true. So, learning a little fun stuff about producer Mark here. But anyway, so the clapping thing is going to be a problem. I guess we don't. I said we're going to talk about is Marvel cinema, or these Marvel movies really? Are they cinema or not? Because you've got what's the super fan, the Goodfellas director? What's Scorsese? How could I forget Scorsese? Buck, you forget Scorsese? You crazy? I think we'll hold that though for tomorrow. I'm going to hold that one over. Here's what I would say. I have to separate out the Avengers from everything else. Maybe I'm not going to hold this for tomorrow. Maybe I'll return to it tomorrow. I would just give you my brief, my précis, my overview here, is that superhero movies can be great. They can be movies like any other movie with all the whole range of human emotion. The acting can be excellent. Obviously can be very, very entertaining. I think some superhero movies are fantastic. The Avengers movies, though, are like a threat to all that is dear in civilization because they're so bad. I'm just here to tell people the truth. You'll notice a lot of truth bombs on this show.
You have never been more wrong about something in your life, your entire life.
He doesn't even get it. It's all right. When you have
I don't,
a few
and
more
most people
years,
don't.
When you have a little more wisdom, under your belt, my friend,
Avengers Endgame is the highest grossing movie of all time. Obviously, you are in the minority in terms of this opinion.
Yeah, because everybody in Beijing saw it. It's not because it's a good movie.
In the U.S., it's the highest grossing movie of all time in the U.S.
Because we didn't want to let the Chinese win. So we saw it
You
more
are
than
wrong.
they did.
Just embrace it. You are wrong.
I'm trying to tell you.
This is a poor opinion. Just like your opinion on not liking hockey and not liking baseball.
You
You're
want to
wrong.
listen to Buck's takes on movies. I'm telling you, producer Mark's going to send you astray. Oh, you'll have like Hulk and Thor be like, who has bigger biceps? Ha ha, so funny. This whole thing is ridiculous.
That has never happened in an Avengers movie.
That's pretty much what happens.
You haven't even watched them.
See, this is what happens when I open the Scorsese can. Whereas Martin Scorsese, a true filmmaker.
He's wrong also. Cinema is anything you want it to be, Buck.
I mean, would you tell Mozart he didn't know how to write a sonata, my friend?
Yes. If
He
I didn't like it.
He actually probably would. No respect for my man Wolfgang Amadeus. Zero.
Wow.
Yeah. Roll call's up next.
It's time for roll call.
It is time for roll call. Let's get to it, shall we? Let's see what we have here. Julia, with a fantastic comment, I can tell from the start. Buck, loved your show yesterday, and you are right. Producer Mark is grouchy. Julia, making my day. He snapped at you when you mentioned it while talking about Kamala's 6 p.m. disaster, shields high.
What did I snap at?
I don't even know, but Julia's saying
Wrong. She's wrong also.
She agrees with the host, not the producer. She says you're grouchy.
Well, without the producer, there'd be no show.
There would be
Remember
no
that.
show. That's true. But Julia, you're on the right side of this one. You probably hate Avengers Ultra Marathon Everlasting 2 or whatever it's called. It's bad.
Not even close.
Yeah, whatever. Richard. Comment of the day, Julia. Thank you. Buck, I think you're missing something on Virginia elections. Eric Holder has an organization that has been working on redistricting states. So they sued Virginia in 2019 for the maps that were drawn in 2010. Then they got some California lib to redraw the maps, and poof, no more Republican majority in Virginia. That election is more about this group than anything. Also, why didn't the Virginia Republicans hang the late-term abortion issue on the Dems? It's like they don't want to win sometimes. Richard, I have to. I'm sure what you're saying about that rings true to me about Virginia redistricting. I haven't been following that part of the story closely enough to comment on it in any expert way. I agree. I mean, look. I don't think it really matters that much what the campaign really was from the Republicans at this point, because Virginia has been importing Democrats to work for the federal government and into the state, because Virginia has a very large and increasing immigrant population as a state, and that's just immigrants vote 2-1 for Democrats, sometimes 3-1. Let's see here. Of the immigrants, Buck, immigrants. I know if you have a green card, you can, but if you're a naturalized citizen, you can vote. So can everyone? You don't need to send me the assume like Fredo. I'm smart. I have ideas too. Not Fredo Cuomo. I mean Fredo from the actual Godfather. I just love that. I'm smart. I've got ideas. Jason writes, hey, Buck, the whole thing where the Democrats are keeping the identity of the whistleblower secret is nothing more than a game. There is virtually no way this deep state operator doesn't have to come forward to testify in the trial in the Senate if Trump is successfully impeached. Thus, they're trying to protect their partisan impeachment as if it's something they just have to do rather than something they have been dying to do since Trump won. Absolutely true, Jason. Ding, ding. If we had prizes to give out, we would give them to you, but we can't give out prizes because we're on the radio, and there's rules about that, by the way, right? Mark, isn't there rules about this? You can't just I can't just send people T-shirts if I like them, because if we have a contest or something, right?
I think you can give out T-shirts. We just don't have T-shirts.
Wow. Christmas is coming, folks, so I just want to make sure.
If it's anything above a T-shirt, then the rules get a little weird.
Then it goes, okay. Yeah. So I can't be I'm going to give $10,000 to somebody and then give it to my cousin. Right?
No, exactly. That's why there's rules for that. But a T-shirt you can get away with.
Okay, T-shirts I could probably. All right,
yes.
That's good to know. Sarah, these guys really do. Oh, love your voice impersonations. You're the best. No, Sarah, you are the best. As for 11,000 scientists who think we're overpopulated, perhaps they should lead by example. Scientifically speaking, at their various ages, I'm confident they produce more methane than the newborns would. Bum. Methane joke, Sarah. Well played. Perhaps stinky, but well played. And then these guys really do have a God complex, do they not, to think we humans can save the world? Yes, Sarah, they do have a God complex. They want to be important. They want to be powerful. All of that stuff. So that is very much true. Douglas. Buck, water vapor, also known as Douglas. I don't know why I said his name so weirdly. I'm just kind of in the zone right now. Buck, water vapor is the largest of the so-called greenhouse gases. It is 100 times more plentiful than CO2, but no one does anything about it because, one, we can't, and two, it wouldn't adversely affect Western capitalist societies. Furthermore, the atmosphere has been 0.03% CO2 forever. The hundreds of years of industrial revolution and addition of 6 billion people to the planet hasn't budged the CO2 concentration by more than 0.01%, or 1/100th%, even if you assume the entire increase is man-caused, which is ridiculous. Where did the 300 parts per million come from? All the greenhouse gases allegedly caused by mankind amount to less than 0.02% of the atmosphere, less than 200 molecules in each 1 million molecule of air. How can any reasonable person believe that 200 out of a million tenths of anything is going to destroy the Earth? yeah, man. I mean, I'm with you. Obviously, I think these people that think this stuff are absolutely nuts. So, and there's a lot of math in there, Douglas. So thank you for handling the math, because I'm not. If we have math problems or tech problems or technology problems, math problems, audio problems, that's producer Mark. You send him the numbers, the gear, all that. I just handle the funny voices. That's my job. So.
Somebody complaining about my audio again?
No.
Huh?
It's okay. It's easy, Mark the Grouch. Don't worry about it. No one has to get spanked today.
All
It's
right.
okay.
I'll go back into my hole.
There we go. It's all fine. All right, everybody. That's going to be the show for today. Hope you're enjoying. If you're not already enjoying watching it on Pluto, please do check it out. Channel 248, The First, where we speak the truth. The First, like the First Amendment. Also, the first channel you should be watching on Pluto TV every day. Also, download the Buck Sexton Show on iTunes. Tell people about it. Numbers are going up. We love that. Shields high.